Hi and welcome to this video. My name is Anuska. Thank you so much for joining me. So this is one of two videos on this, what I think is such a juicy topic. So did you know that as a woman, your vocal folds have a menstrual cycle much like your cervix? And so it begs the question then, does your voice also experience symptoms of PMS? Now, just to give you a little bit of context in my own voice and my own story with this, I've been having voice training since I was 10, so pre my period starting. And I have always been very sort of aware of my voice because I was always singing and I was always having singing lessons. It was fairly consistent in this. And so in my 20s, I was then on oral contraception. I didn't notice much change in my voice then because I guess my hormones had been balanced. And then when I came off the oral contraception after about 10 years and things had settled, I really started to notice some changes in my voice each month, to the point where I could almost tell when my period was going to start. Because bearing in mind, I'm working on my voice every single day in some shape or form. And what I noticed was in the days leading up to my period, my voice would become thicker, it would become sort of almost heavier, harder work. It would be hard for me to particularly hit high notes. And I felt like I just had less agility in my voice, which wasn't something that I was used to. And eventually, after research, and this went on for many years before I worked this out, but I realized that this was to do with the hormonal fluctuations of my monthly cycle, and that you couldn't really separate your voice. And so even if you are, like myself, very much into voice health and voice care and voice vocal technique, your hormones can have a significant impact on your voice during your monthly cycle. And actually what I do now, when I am in a sort of live performance concert situation, which I haven't been in for a while, is that I will plan the date to avoid the days leading up to my period, because I just know that my voice isn't going to be functioning as well. And it's just another thing to sort of worry about. Now, obviously, if I had to sing, I would, but I know that I will perform a lot better when I'm outside of this period. Pardon the pun. When I'm outside of this period. So I wasn't imagining things. And this is really the purpose of this video, because you might have experienced some of these symptoms that I'm going to talk about, but you might have just thought, maybe I've overdone it, maybe I'm just not using my voice properly. And there could be elements of that. But what I want to share with you today is some of the symptoms that you might experience through hormonal fluctuations in that sort of premenstrual period as a woman. So Dr. Abitbol, a French doctor, actually coined the term premenstrual voice syndrome. And he's worked with women for over 25 years, studying their voices, looking at their voices, and he came to notice this pattern, and that this was a real thing. And it was a real thing for women who weren't taking any contraception. And actually, we know that in the past, opera houses in places like Milan, Salzburg, and Vienna actually gave female opera singers grace days where they didn't have to perform, because they knew that this was a real issue for women, and particularly singing opera. I can only imagine what an absolute nightmare that would be. So what might you notice? I mean, I've already mentioned some of the things that I've noticed in my own voice. And again, he talks about you'll notice these symptoms sort of 6 to 8 days, like a week before your period is actually about to start. And these symptoms will usually disappear before your period is finished. So as I did, increased effort, the voice just feels thicker, heavier, harder work, just generally things that normally wouldn't be much of an effort, just feels like a lot of effort. If you're a singer, you will potentially notice high notes that you would normally perhaps have no problem reaching are just a lot more difficult. Clearing your throat more, if you're someone that normally clears your throat, or maybe just clearing your throat. I mean, I personally don't really clear my throat that much, also because I know it's not very good for my voice, but it is something that you might notice more of. Your voice feels drier than normal. You feel like you need more water than normal. Hoarseness or raspiness. So actually a lot of these are interconnected, because dryness and all of this kind of stuff you know, fatigue, dryness. Actually, fatigue is another one, but they're all kind of interconnected in a way because one has an effect on another. So hoarseness or raspiness, vocal fatigue, loss of power in the voice as well, particularly again as a singer, but it could also be as a speaker. If you're used to projecting and you don't normally have a problem sort of speaking in front of people, you might notice a change in the power in your voice. And finally, you might notice a sort of shift in the color or the timbre of your voice, like it just feels or sounds not as interesting, not as engaging as it normally would do. So my suggestion is always the same. I actually in the second video, I'm going to give you some more practical ways to work with this, but my suggestion is really to become really intimate with your own voice. If you are someone that really relies on your voice, whether you're a singer, whether you're a professional voice user, and you need your voice for your work, start to become intimate with your voice, start to notice things, because truthfully, it's very easy to sort of ignore some of these sort of symptoms, particularly if you already suffer from sort of PMS symptoms. It's going to look different for different women, just like sort of PMS symptoms look different for different women. Some people don't experience them, some people do. And I notice even within myself, it can differ from month to month, year to year. It's going to have, you know, these symptoms can also be due to other factors like diet, like general hydration. Have you had enough sleep? Are you suffering from any allergies? Like for me at the moment, hay fever is just killing me. So all of these things are also going to affect your voice and could present sort of similar symptoms. And also as a woman, you know, you might notice shifts in this too when you've had a child, when you're perimenopausal. So there's lots and lots of factors that can sort of vary from month to month, even within us ourselves. Our cycles sort of change. You know, they change anyway. So in the next video, I'm going to talk more about what to do about this and how to take care of your voice, some more practical ways from a technical perspective, but also when it could just be sort of dietary changes or drinking more water, getting more sleep, which is probably never going to hurt anyway, but just to kind of give you a little bit more information about what you can actually do. So thank you so much for watching, and if you have any questions, please post them below. If not, I will see you on part 2.